past couple of years, Spain has been facing its biggest political conflict since the Civil War. The conflict centers around Catalonia, the wealthiest of the country's 17 autonomous regions. It is home to approximately 7 million people and has its own customs, culture, and language. From 2012 to 2017, the number of supporters for Catalonian independence grew rapidly. Now, every year on September 11th, the National Catalan Day, thousands of Catalans take to the street in protest, demanding their political freedom from Spain. On October 1st, 2017, the heads of the Catalan government decided to hold a public referendum to decide the fate of the region.
In Spain's restless region of Catalonia, people are gearing up for a contested referendum on independence.
Ya hay fecha para el referéndum ilegal sobre la independencia de Cataluña. El presidente de la Generalitat pretende llevarlo a cabo el 1 de octubre pese a que no cuenta con el consentimiento del gobierno.
The referendum on independence planned in Catalonia is perhaps the biggest political crisis Spain has seen in more than 30 years.
La proposició de llei del referèndum d'autodeterminació ha quedat aprovada per 72 vots a favor, cap en contra y 11 abstencions.
No habrá ningún referéndum el 1 de octubre y no lo habrá porque el Tribunal Constitucional ha dicho claramente que es inconstitucional y por tanto ilegal.
But the referendum was deemed illegal by the Spanish Constitutional Court and the government took action. Hundreds of police officers were sent from other parts of the country to stop the referendum, and the situation quickly escalated. Violence broke out, and by the end of the day, almost 1,000 people were injured. Although only 42% of the Catalonian population turned out for the referendum, over 90% of the voters wanted to become independent. Based on the results, the Catalan president at the time, Carles Puigdemont, declared independence from Spain unilaterally, although he postponed it shortly afterwards.
El mandat del poble que Catalunya esdevingui un estat independent en forma de república.
As a response, the Spanish government took over Catalonia's regional powers in order to remove their leaders from office. Afterwards, the leaders of the referendum and members of the Catalan government were arrested by Spanish police. The case wound up in the Spanish Supreme Court, and for the last 2 years, most of the politicians have been awaiting their verdict from the inside of a prison cell. The Catalan society is clearly divided by those who desire independence and the ones that believe the region should remain Spanish. The conflict is still ongoing, leading Catalonia to an uncertain future. Will Catalonia finally become independent? What will be the reaction of the Spanish state? What will be the reaction of the people of Catalonia?
Espero que sea una sentencia justa, que se respete por todos los ciudadanos de este país.
As well as being one of Europe's biggest cities and a world-famous tourist attraction, Barcelona is also the capital of Catalonia. Millions of people come here every year to experience the city's unique culture, cuisine, and architecture. What many visitors don't know is that the region is divided around one central question: should Catalonia break from the Spanish state? One that is aware of the issue, however, is Gianmarco, a 25-year-old that wants Spain to remain unified.
Everything starts like 400 or 500 years ago when we have the Kingdom of Aragon and Catalonia and the Spanish Kingdom. Pro-independence people think that Catalonia in the past was a state. It actually was not a state, it was a kingdom. And now they want to be a state. I accept the way that pro-independence see their country, like Catalonia, but what I not accept is that a lot of social media, television manipulate to be independent against Spain. Catalan culture, it's so good. Like, I don't know. I'm glad to be Catalan, but also Spanish. And I think that Catalonia has to be part of Spain.
Many people disagree with Gianmarco, however. Among them is Alba, a 19-year-old student who, like many other young people, believe that Catalonia should become its own state.
My name is Alba Saavedra, I'm 19 years old. My political position in Catalonia is pro-independence. Spain took a part of our community and made us be a country together, so we lost our right of being an independent community. Since then, we've been kind of humiliated from them. Our money have been taken from the Madrid and from the capital of Spain. I'm pro-independence in Catalonia because I think I have my right of self-determination and my country has also that right. I think it's really wrong how they don't allow us to decide our future in a referendum or any kind of voting. They just not respecting our language. They want to take back our own language, which is Catalan. And I'm really against that because I think more language is more culture, and I just want to keep my own culture because it's what I've been raising for. So I'm really against that. I just want to keep my culture and see how my families and my colleagues and all my friends can decide for their future. I don't think that Madrid should decide for a person who lives in a small town in Catalonia.
Estoy bastante decepcionado con todo lo que ha pasado, y en especial desde el Estado, la poca empatía y la poca energía que han puesto para solucionar el conflicto.
Creo que es un atentado contra la democracia a nivel mundial. Es una situación inaudita, creo, en Europa.
As a student of journalism and an avid spectator of politics, Clara has a more neutral view of the conflict.
I'm kind of in the middle of both sides. I don't want the independence of Catalonia, but I really don't like what Spain is doing these days with this topic. You know, I feel like people like me, we're kind of a species here in Catalonia because it's very rare. Like, we are some people that think like me, but not very much. And we also don't have so much representation in political parties. I was in the 2017 referendum, even though it was in fact illegal, but I was there because I wanted to vote. I was there 7 a.m. Doing the queue because I wanted to be there and vote no. Maybe I was the only person who was there that was going to vote no, but I was there because I wanted to exercise my right to decide.
The validity of the 2017 referendum is still a divisive issue. For some, like Gianmarco, the referendum was a clear violation of the Constitution and a pointless exercise.
This referendum violates the Constitution. The Constitution is the first, is the highest law of our country. If you break that law, you're breaking everything. So, for me, it was illegal. That referendum. It doesn't count. And for me, the thing that was really sad to see, it's that the police, about how the police act in that situation. What I would have done that day is like, everyone, if you want to vote. Then when you know the statistic about the people that vote and everything, I take all the votes and I throw it to the bin.
Alba, however, disagree with this, claiming the referendum to be the will of the people and that the constitution should change accordingly.
The Spanish government tried to avoid this voting, but they couldn't. They tried to find all the material, but they couldn't. They tried to stop us from 9 a.m., but they couldn't. But then in the middle of the day, they started hitting us. They started abusing their power, the policemen. but also the governments, because they didn't do anything to avoid that. Basically, I think they exceed their power, they did something that is not good, and they blamed us because they said that we were doing something illegal, that it was outside of the constitution, because the Spanish constitution says that Spain is an unbreakable state. But well, about that, I think the constitution changes. In the history of Spain, the constitution has changed several times, and I hope for good that it changes again and again in the future. So it was like, okay, we're not doing something that it's supposed to be right, but you guys are hitting us, you're abusing your power, and that is not okay. I don't know if economically or politically it is possible, but I know that we want it, and if us Catalan people are organized and we fight for it, I think it's really possible to achieve the independence of Catalonia.
Most of the leaders behind the referendum were arrested. One who managed to escape Spanish police, however, was the Catalan president, Carles Puigdemont.
The fact that Puigdemont left the country, first of all, I mean, it was understandable, because if they were going to put me in jail, maybe I would also have left the country. But at the same time, seeing that all his other political companions, went to jail because they didn't leave, for me it's kind of, he was the one who could leave, and he's still a hero now. He's a hero for a lot of people, but I can't think of me thinking of him as a hero when the others are going to be in jail for 12 years at least, and he's just there having some breakfast.
Puigdemont, or what they say, it's a coward, and it's a disgrace for the Catalan people, in my opinion. I do not hate Puigdemont, but I hate what he did for Catalan people.
At the beginning, I thought he was not brave. I thought it was a really bad idea, that he was just being a coward and he was leaving us all. But then after 2 years that he has been outside the country and the political prisoners have been in jail, now I see that he was really smart. Because from jail you can do literally nothing, and he's doing a lot of stuff, even though he's in an office in another country, he's doing a lot.
Es un hecho y no puede ser borrada o destruida o ser un objeto de ningún.
For 2 years, the politicians awaited their verdict in prison.
I did follow the trial. I was following it in TV, like most of people. It was quite interesting because even though it was a very long trial with a lot of testimonies and a lot of people talked there, but I kind of knew since the beginning what was going to be the result. My personal opinion is that it was too strong, it was far too many years, because at the end, even though they were doing something illegal, they were doing something that people asked them, a lot of people asked them to do that. What would you do in that position? The more you know, the more information you have, the more you read. It's not so easy to decide if what they did was legal or not, if it was right or not. I can think from my point of view that, for me, letting people vote shouldn't be illegal and you shouldn't go to jail because of that. But at the same time, they were doing something against the Spanish law. So it's not so easy, I think, to say just like, yeah, that's right or that's bad. People in general should have much more information than they have before judging.
On the 14th of October, the Spanish Supreme Court announced their decision, and it had not been lenient. Catalans decided to block the street to show their disapproval. The politicians found themselves facing 9 to 13 years in prison. The verdict was highly disputed, both sides supporting their leaders.
Les dijeron, si hacéis esto es delito, no sé qué, y los tíos lo han hecho, pues oye, lo siento mucho, apechugan.
Pues el que la hace la paga. Eso funciona así. El que se salta la ley, pues lo tiene que pagar, ¿no?
Es tema de principios.
De ser justos o no ser justos.
Exactamente.
Es otro tema, da igual la independencia.
Se trata de que un preso político va a salir
después que un violador, que un asesino, que un narcotraficante. Ya está, no es ni independencia ni no independencia, es simplemente eso.
Es justicia.
For me, it's fair. It's what I say. If you break the constitution, if you break the highest law of the country, you have to assume consequence. So the consequence will be that if you have to go to jail, you have to go to jail. Yeah, 13 years is a long time, but justice has to act in that circumstances.
I'm really against that. I was really mad when they put them in jail, just because if they are in prison because they did a referendum or because they have all this way of thinking, then I should be in prison too. My family should be in prison, most of my friends should also be in prison, and it's not fair. So I think this trial has been really unfair, and this sentence is just unbelievable. I mean, it's unfair and it's not proper of a democratic country.
The verdict ignited a spark amongst the pro-independence supporters, and thousands of people took to the street to protest the court's decision.
I did expect all the protests that followed the sentence. I expected to be like something really big. I actually expected to be that big, but I didn't expect that concrete stuff. For example, the thing of the airport, I don't have that much imagination, so I would never thought that we were gonna step and cancel more than 100 planes. For example, I would never thought of that, but I knew it was gonna be something big because it has to be something big.
The protests started out as peaceful civil disobedience. At night, though, some protesters found more proactive ways of revolting against the Spanish state.
So about violence from the pro-independence people, some kind of reason I accept that 10 years of jail, it's a lot. But Barcelona in that during that week was completely chaos. Like everyone was scared about what's going to happen.
I don't think the violence is the way to achieve anything, but I also don't think that all the burning containers were violence. I think there's a huge difference that we have to realize between violence and self-defending. I would never light up a container just for fun. That's not something I would do, and I don't think that's something that the pro-independence people do. But if they are hitting me, if they are throwing plastic bullets to me, then maybe I will, because I think that's just self-defense. And I also want to say that it's something really remarkable that in most of these protests, most of the people who were throwing stuff to the police, because there was people who was throwing stuff at the police, they are not even pro-independence people. They're just people that hate the police, people that just in their mouth they're just all cops are bastards. So when there's a revolution, in any kind of revolution, they just go out there and fight the police. It's so scary, like when you hear boom, boom. Sometimes I would get home after a march, I would lay on my bed preparing to go to sleep, and inside my head I just heard like boom, boom.
When I see some other people who are wearing black, that they just go there because they want action. They just want to go against the police, and they just throw them things, they burn things for from everyone, things from the city. And then at some point you have to see, what would have happened if the police didn't do anything? So I think that you have to look for a middle point, you know? Police, for sure, I think that they have to act, because otherwise it would be chaos in the city. But at the same time, I think that the government should, I don't know how, but they should assure that police don't go too far.
As well as further deepening the rift between the two sides, the riot cost millions of euros worth of damages to the city's infrastructure and large losses in revenue for private businesses.
I absolutely think that the decisions that the Spanish law took has created a symbolic idea of these politicians. Now they are heroes, they are symbols, they are martyrs. They have sacrificed themselves for the Catalan people. They are going to spend a lot of years in jail because of the Catalan people. So what the Spanish law did is kind of creating a gun against themselves, because this was like the beginning of an explosion.
Actually, they are symbols nowadays. They are everywhere. In every village that are pro-independence, that the majority of people are pro-independence, has his own his own post, or in the social media, for example. So they are a symbol for them.
Doing this, putting this really rough sentence, the only thing they are doing, they are looking like, if you allow me to say, they are looking like idiots in front of the rest of the world and in front of the European Union. As you can see in like several posts and several newspapers, not a lot of governments are in favor of this sentence. So here you can see, I think they messed up and they didn't know, they didn't think a lot before putting this sentence, because I don't think that goes pro her. I think that it just goes against her, and that in some way it helps us.
They've come a long way, but the question remains, what now?
I think that the fact that both sides don't talk is what it's creating this situation. And I can also understand that it's difficult for both sides to talk, because they are so different that it's very difficult to find an agreement. But they have to, because there is no other possibility. And if they don't do it, things like what we saw last month, like these protests, violent protests, or is what is going to happen if they don't talk. Maybe if they talk, the first measure that they can do is maybe the economic independence, which would be okay for a lot of Catalonians, because there is something that we should know and we should be aware of, that I'm 100% sure that if now we could become economically independent, a lot of Catalans would be satisfied and they wouldn't need to become an own country.
I think here in Catalonia we have to solve that problem now. Like, the president of Spain has to talk with politicians from Catalonia.
I think that there are different options, different possibilities. First one is that thanks to this new government, this coalition between PSOE and Podemos, maybe there is a chance for dialogue.
I think everyone is asking themselves, what now? I mean, they are telling us to do stuff, but no one is really organizing things anymore. It's been 6 weeks from the sentence and no one is telling us to do things anymore. We all expect to do more stuff. We all want to do more stuff. We don't want to just let them be in jail for all these years. we want to do something, but we have to organize ourselves.
They have to clean all the shitty politicians we have here in Catalonia. We want to talk to Spain, so we have to get things in common.
The other option is that nothing happens and time flies, time passes, and as it happened 2 years ago, people here, they also get tired. And if nothing happens and people will start realizing that maybe there's not such possibility as becoming independent, and people will become tired of fighting so much.
Now, I think pro-independence people are actually scared because of the how the police act in that circumstance. So I don't really know what's going to happen.
And I also really want to think that we will be able to put them out of jail, and that Puigdemont and all the other people that are outside of Catalonia, I really want to think that they will be able to come back. But I mean, I think we all expect someone to tell us to do, because we really don't know what to do.
The question of Catalonian independence remains uncertain, its inhabitants still divided on how to move forward.